orgasms.
That is so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. I thought it that way for a long time.
Sure.
I think that's where we end up disconnected too, because we're just looking at that point at the end of the road. And that's the important part. Everything else is just a build up to get there. Welcome to Startup Spouses, where we help entrepreneurial couples take their relationship from mediocre to mind-blowing. I'm Marie, a relationship and intimacy coach.
And I'm Adam. I'm a business coach.
So today I thought we could talk about the big P.
The big P?
Yeah.
You mean the one they took this morning?
Oh my! I think that's a little too much for our listeners.
Was I not?
That is a little too much.
Is it? Am I too much?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
Not at all.
Well, what P are you talking about then?
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Oh,
Yeah.
That's better than the P I was talking
Okay.
about. Yeah.
And when I say that, what comes up for you when I say talk about pleasure?
Well, I think at this point in our lives, I mean, what comes up now is like, excitement. Get to experience, pleasure, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The thing that we always want to do. What also comes up for me, from the perspective of my brain is something that I have to earn.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
How's that?
because like in any respect and whatever you think like pleasure is, like, hey, going on a trip or a vacation, we're conditioned in this society. Well, you got to earn your paid time off to actually go on a vacation to have pleasure, right? Or if you want to like go out and see a movie or something, you have to earn like that right to experience pleasure.
Yeah,
and I think even sexually, we feel like we need to earn that, right? And in some respects, I mean, I think the other thing that comes up like from a previous life is like, pleasure in terms of experiencing our pleasure is bad, is shameful.
Yes. You're talking about the shame portion.
Yeah.
Of what people feel that pleasure represents, because it can be very a very heavy word,
Right.
meaning that it's great. It's kind of like what people talk about candy,
Yeah.
or junk food. I'm putting them in quotation marks because I think that is also very loaded, but it's that notion that you have to earn it, and that there is, like, I want to say no-nos because the lack of the word of like, and that I say it that way because I think as a child that you're taught, that certain things are no-nos. And
Right.
I think that's what comes up is when we talk about things like pleasure, that it is has to be earned. It has to be limited, not too much of it or you're selfish.
Right.
Well,
I think there's also a sense of like pleasure is vulnerable.
Ooh,
I mean, and there's a risk of like, especially when it involves another person, there's a risk of rejection. And like, we just look at pleasure as something like, hey, we've got our armor off. We're in a playful mode. We have to put down that warrior kind of thing. And especially if you're A-type kind of business owner and you're always going, what room do we have for pleasure, right? Do we get joy in the work that we do, right? I mean, I think that's where a lot of this comes from. And I think one of the things that we want to emphasize and why we're starting and why we have this platform is because when you're building a business with your spouse, somebody that you've agreed to share a life with, love, intimacy, all that thing, and you have this talent for building a business together and a relationship together, well, the three things that you need to focus on are building a great business, building a great relationship, that's number one, and having a great sex.
yeah.
And great sex is that pleasure part.
Yes.
Because the pleasure part, and I want to ask you about this, like the idea of experiencing pleasure within your marriage and actually embracing that pleasure, how does that affect the relationship and ultimately the business that you're running together?
Wow, that is a great thing. So if we If we set aside the shame, let's just put it aside. Let's put away the thoughts of it, everything associated with it being negative.
Yeah.
And we focus on our pleasure. And pleasure, I believe, in the typical realm of what we call sex, it goes beyond that thought of just, hey, let's knock one out in 15 minutes,
Right.
sort of thing. Pleasure is actually getting back in your body, which entrepreneurial couples have a difficult time being, very analytical, very action forward. So we're
They're very in
always
their head.
always in their head.
Yeah.
Last time that you've been in your body is probably very limited. Kind of weird. People even talk about meditation, how, oh, meditation does not work for me because, you know, X, Y, and Z. So most people go straight to sex to feel.
Right.
But if we can incorporate that sense of pleasure throughout our life, going back in our bodies, not just limited to sex, you can expand not only your bedroom activities, but you can also expand that being in your body because you can make better decisions because you're focused. And because have you noticed when you are stressed out and you are you feel like you're having to do something that sometimes you don't make the right decisions?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's the ultimate kind of being in your head.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I'm making decisions from this very heady place. And then, you know, ultimately you're second guessing yourself. You're trying to figure that out. And how many of us have done that in the bedroom too, where it's just like, well, was I, you know, how was that? Was that good enough? Was all this, you know, did I take care of that other person? All this other stuff. And I guess, so kind of going to that, like thinking about pleasure, when was it that you discovered for yourself, the importance of pleasure? And the second part of that question is, when did you start living it?
Ooh, I think that I've been a little spoiled because of the classes that I've been taking for Somatica, that we get to come to a place where we are very much in tune with our bodies.
Right.
And it sounds, sometimes people would say it's kind of woo-woo or something like, oh, your body, you know, you just, that's what just controls your walking and your carrying, but actually feeling in your body, like, you know, when you get nervous, you feel butterflies, or like your stomach, you know, that's, you know, your intuitive part. So being able to tap into that, not just in intimacy and in sex, creates this space for you to feel safety in your body, because you kind of can be more intuitive with your thinking. It's kind of like that when you get everything online, your body and your mind, then you can make better decisions in your workplace. So going back to practicing this every single day, these practices of being in your body, because when I'm working with somebody, if I'm not in tune with my body, it kind of, we're not going to the place where, if you're going to be intimate with somebody, your body, and you're not in your body, it's disconnected. It's in your head. You're
Right.
thinking about what you should be doing, but instead of, your body can instinctually help you out and make better decisions too.
Right.
Trust me on it. Like it takes a lot of, it feels uncomfortable at first, but when you work with somebody like me, that you can get in tune with that part of you, and then you are more a whole holistic person, and lower in stress too. Right. Realizing that, coming from a place where I'm more in tune with my body, that, and being more in tune with that in the world of making better decisions, it feels better to come from this place. It feels more in sync. I don't feel like I am more anxious. It lowered my anxiety levels too. And I'm like, hey, this is something that's actually beneficial.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing in all of that you're saying here is that pleasure is really amplified, or pleasure, you can embrace pleasure through the act of practicing embodiment.
Yes.
So can you say more about the idea, like embodiment here? Because I think a lot of people might be saying, like, because you even said like woo woo, right? And I think we're distinguishing between like head zone of like being in your head and being in your body in
Yeah.
these moments. What does that look like practically to have the practices of embodiment, to in the effort of knowing? I guess I'll just start there. How do we embrace the practice of embodiment? Like how will that help us?
How will that help us, or
How
how
will
to
you
do it?
embrace it?
How do we embrace it?
Yeah, what are the practices of embodiment?
Okay, well, I think the best way to do it is through breath work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So making sure that you're breathing into your body. Like taking the deep breaths into your chest, feeling your stomach, feeling your pelvic floor, is doing that breath work
Right.
can put you in a, activating the parasympathetic, even putting your hand on your heart and your belly at the same time, kind of that grounding aspect of it. And while you're doing that, it slows down your body, not being in the fight or flight situation, because most entrepreneurs are like, got to do this now, got to go now, and if you're in that state of mind all the time, you're not thinking clearly.
Yeah.
And so bringing it back into your body, finding safety there, is going to it's going to help you in all aspects of your life. And I've noticed like a lot of entrepreneurs have anxiety too. So just tapping into that, and by doing the just simple breath work every single day, can help you in the long run with your pleasure, because you start lowering into your body, and using touch practices, which are amazing, can help you understand where I like to be touched, what feels good, what touch feels good. Is it a firm touch? Is it like a light feather touch? Is it certain parts, like I like, my hair being pushed back, and then my face slightly gently touched too. That's because like practicing, noticing these things. And it's very hard to notice these things when you're up in your head. When you lower down into your body, and by doing the breath work, you can start feeling what feels good to you.
Yeah. So understanding that, like, if you're in that zone of, play, and you're in your head, you maybe not not really embodied in the moment. So getting embodied means, kind of, at least first step is what I'm hearing, is getting into your breath, and feeling your breath go into different parts of your body to kind of feel that part of your body.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then you're kind of getting back into your body through that breath.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about kind of now the idea of touch, and getting into like what kind of touch you like, where you like that touch. Say more about that. Like, how do we explore that from the perspective of kind of learning what we like about pleasure? Like, how do we explore touch?
It's a great, what you're saying is exploration of it. Giving yourself permission not to go straight to sex when you're with your partner, of being able to feel and what feels good to you. And just by you activating, when I touch you, of I'm doing it for me,
Right.
which sounds very counterintuitive. Doing that touch that feels good when I touch you, to really feel you, to feel your skin, to feel your muscles. So that type of aspect is really important, to start giving yourself that idea of touch, and not being, oh, does she like this, or does he like that sort of touch?
So you're thinking about yourself first, as far as like when you're touching me,
Yeah.
you're essentially taking on that touch.
Yes.
And so in doing so, you are by basically taking your pleasure, you're also giving pleasure. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because what feels good to me is going to activate that feel good hormone in me, and then it's going to. It's interesting how it transitions to another person
Yeah.
that you're touching. Like I'm touching your knee right now, and I'm being very intentional of that, and looking you in the eyes too. Um, but I, but it feels good to me to do that.
Right. And by that nature, because it feels good to you, here's how that's coming off to me is that I'm seeing you looking me in the eye, touching me on the knee, because you are taking that touch. There's more confidence that's coming from that. There's less of a need for me to feel like worried, like, oh, does she like that? And then like, because I know that you're not in your head, you're just getting the pleasure that you want. I'm able to just experience that myself in the form of pleasure without like all of the other junk in my head saying, well, is she okay? Is this okay? Is that and then we're both basically feeling more embodied, which we're both able to experience that pleasure.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing. So I like that idea, and that is counterintuitive to like think like, and I think maybe even, I don't want to say especially for guys because like it could be the same for, but coming from a guy's perspective, it's hard to think of like, yeah, I'm just going to take pleasure from a woman by touch. It's like, but yeah, when I am more like able to like just say like, no, I am really just touching you for me and touching for my pleasure.
Yeah.
I understand that the thing that happens is it actually helps you to be more embodied and you to experience more pleasure from yourself, and for yourself from however we're doing that. And
Yeah.
this is just through the exploration side. This isn't like even engaging in what we would call intercourse yet. This is touching.
Yeah.
And that makes it pleasurable. Yeah.
Yeah. By doing so, it just sets me up to be like, if you're doing taking touch on me and we're exploring that, I can be like, how does that feel for me? Like I can sit in it and just be like, does that feel good to me? And then I can, that's why we call it exploration, is I can say, hey, can you move, this feels better, or that feels better, or like moving into this light touch feels better. And it increases your communication for one another too. So giving yourself permission to do the exploration and being able to check in with your partner and say, hey, how does that feel for you when I touch you like that? Or what could you use more of? What could you use less of? And like being playful. And sometimes it's kind of funny because like that tickles too much and I don't like to be tickled at in that area. And so, but giving yourself permission to do the things that you enjoy and see how it feels with the other person.
Yeah. Now, obviously, consent matters.
Well, yeah,
Obviously,
of course.
we're not saying like, yeah, just take touch from, this is obviously consensual. And I mean, like, you can engage. I feel like you can engage in this in a very sexy and healthy way of taking touch with the consent by saying like, hey, can I touch your knee? Is that okay? And then you say yes. And then I have that, I can take that touch from you, and then so on and so forth. However that works within your dynamic in your relationship.
Yeah. I mean, you can have boundaries on it even beforehand, before you like, hey, let's set it aside a time, we don't have to put sex on the table. Let's just see what we both enjoy about this. And then, is there anything that you don't want? And then you can tell, like, I don't like my sides touch because I'm really ticklish, or anything like that, and see where it goes, and not having that pressure to perform in quotation marks. Like,
because we often just feel like we need to just kind of like, oh, I mean, how many of us like get into our, sexual situations and it's the same rhythm every time? It's like, we do this thing first, we kiss first, then we do this thing, then we do this thing, then we do this thing, and then boom, orgasm, and then we're done. Right? I mean, it's like kind of like that exploration side makes it more pleasurable, more novel, more dynamic. And I think it opens up the other part of it, because we've touched on, pun intended,
Ah.
we've touched on the idea of breathing, like getting embodied, like through breath. Then we've touched on the idea of touch, which is like, taking touch and really being there. Now let's talk about the other, because you mentioned this part of it too, which is also important, and another form of foreplay, and very important, which is the communication side.
Yeah.
Is the talk. Like, how does that play into experiencing more pleasure?
I think it's basically sitting down. Really, I think I touched on this before. Is just having a conversation, facing each other. It's is very important. And I know for you, it's really, really important that
Yeah.
you have that connection and with communication and
Yeah.
being able to talk to each other about certain things. And it didn't always, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be? It got into my head about the whole communication before. It's like, what am I supposed to be talking about? How do I push his buttons in order to turn him on too? And it was like very frustrating for me. So
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand that part.
Well,
before.
I think that's an important point too. Is that in this process we learned about. I mean, for 20 plus years of marriage in our lives, we thought like we didn't understand like how we enjoyed intimacy, or how we expressed intimacy. You really liked touch, and like touch was very important to you.
It's my love language.
And for me, it was more like language, like talk, and that like kind of verbal, intellectual intimacy was very important to me. Like, and so for years I thought like, well, we're just not connected because I'm not like as touchy as Marie. So then, because like I felt so much anxiety around it, I thought I wasn't a very sexual person. So again, there went the idea of pleasure for me, thinking like, well, pleasure is just not like, I mean, pleasure is not something we should strive for or prioritize. There's other things we need to do, and we just didn't have that great sexual really. But when we started talking and communicating about it, I mean, that's when it was like, oh, it lit up, and we started to understand each other better, and we understand ourselves better.
Yeah.
And I think this is an important part about about exploring pleasure for yourself, and knowing what pleasure looks like. It's important data points, and knowing where you get that joy, where you get that pleasure from, because when you understand that, you can communicate that to your partner, and your partner is free to communicate that to you. And then your relationship improves, your confidence improves, and your certainty improves, and your conviction improves, that you can take back into your relationship and your business, and they can get stronger there. And I know it feels inappropriate to say that great sex can improve your business. It can, because it just gives you that confidence. Exploring pleasure and owning your pleasure and prioritizing it can strengthen your business. Yeah, because you show up in life more playfully. Doesn't mean you show up sexually. It just means you're more playful.
Yes.
And you can bring pleasure into more of your life because you're practicing that.
Yeah. Well, here's the way of looking at it from a perspective of stress, anxiety, all those top things in your life. Once you prioritize pleasure, you're telling your body, you're telling your mind that this is important. Like, that we're okay. We have the capability to have more time to do something. We don't need to be a 5-alarm fire all the time, because if we are leaning into pleasure, it's telling our body and our mind we're okay. There's no danger involved. So by prioritizing pleasure, you are lowering the level of anxiety and stress in your life too, because you're like saying, it's okay. This is okay. We are okay. Like, it's not like we need to be pushed through even harder sort of aspect to it. And no wonder why people are like really stressed out. If they don't prioritize pleasure, you're not teaching your body that you're okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's I think that's a really great point. It sounds like exploring your pleasure too is a stress helps you to regulate yourself and regulate stress, regulate each other. And especially when you're business partners and life partners, I mean, that stress is going to be pretty high. So prioritizing that and making that intentional time could be important. So I think getting to that communication side of it too, like talking about that communication, I think when we started to experience that and understand that, and certainly when I started to understand that more, it was when we started having that weekly meeting and communicating
Yeah.
and talking about those things and learning more about ourselves, about like what we want, what our real desires are. So I guess the question now is, how do you explore those desires that you may find pleasurable, that may have a sense of maybe shame around them? I mean, each of us has, I think, an idea of like where our fantasies are, what our desires are. But maybe we're afraid to like even like consider or explore those in our minds because A, maybe they'll never happen, and B, because maybe they feel shameful or wrong by whatever society standards. So yeah, to that question that I wanted to ask was around the idea of like how do we learn about our own desires? If we have our own fantasies, our own desires and things like that. How do we? I mean, how do we know that we know what they are? Because a lot of times we just don't even want to like think we have the freedom to explore what those are.
Yeah.
And B, how do we like if there's some shame around it? How do we like get over that to actually, explore the desires we have to experience the pleasure that we want?
I think what it's very important is safety.
Yeah.
It's first of all, I know a lot of people may not even think that they fantasize or may not even allow themselves to fantasize or have feelings around intimacy. And when you allow your nervous system to relax a little bit, then you feel a little bit more safe in your being in your body.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling more safety in your body, self-exploration is also a great aspect of that. We can probably like tap into that. I help a lot of people tap into that part of how to do that is having that self-exploration
So like self-touch kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
self-touch and to see what feels good for them. Because sometimes they might not even that's even scary in the first point.
Yeah.
Is like even just being touched, like you said, that some people go through those things where it is scary.
Yeah.
It is scary to be touched. It's either they have the reaction of oh, this person just wants to have sex right now, but I don't feel that right now because I'm stressed out and I have everything. My nervous system's not regulated, or it's shameful, to be touched, and so we don't do that because maybe you were scolded as a child for touching yourself or touching somebody.
Right.
So those are two aspects of what we need to tap into in order to start to get online of what we want to feel.
Yeah.
And that's important, so that nervous system regulation, feeling safe in your body. That's why we do a lot of work to access that part of ourselves
Yeah.
before, and lowering the shame dial, like just turning it down just a little bit. Giving yourself and your partner a safe space to have the conversations without shame, because society has built that around us, like that idea of what you should be doing and how you should be doing. But if you pull that layer back and be like, why is this affecting me this way? And having open, honest conversations that are very uncomfortable
Yeah.
at first. I remember that for us. So being able to do those things can help you tap into that idea of what feels pleasurable for you.
Yeah. Is it fair to say too? I mean, we have like the idea of shame and guilt, and shame obviously is more of like the deep feeling of it. Guilt is like kind of like a reaction or feeling associated with a specific incident. Is it common to feel like guilt when you experience pleasure, and does that impact how we maybe receive pleasure when we later on?
I'm an expert at feeling guilty with
Yeah,
pleasure.
tell me more.
Because somewhere in my life, I thought it needed to be earned. That it's like your worth is tied to what you do for other people, not just for simply existing.
Yeah,
And like if we think about it, like we are very transactional creatures that you do for me, I do for you. We trade money for services, and your worth is tied around your identity of what you do. Like like the first question when you ask people is, what do you do? So
yeah,
it's like,
right.
that's the most typical question. And that's where, and I know.
So we should ask the first question we should ask: how do you experience pleasure?
Maybe the second question.
Okay, yeah.
What are your hobbies? Like,
Yeah.
that's more interesting,
Right,
like,
right.
about a person than what they do.
What lights you up? Yeah.
That lights you up. But it's like that's what we need to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I think I mean I think the idea that we're transactional it resonates because it's like that's always kind of how I felt. I mean, if you've ever been kind of even with your partner in a sexual way, or you know, in how that shapes out for a lot of people who are kind of like that, they might feel. I know I've always felt like it's like, okay, well, I have to make sure that you know that you're taken care of before I'm taken care of, kind of thing, or like this and that. And it's like that whole dynamic of like taking pleasure again was foreign to me until we started getting into it. And then it's like, but that fluidness of it, like that it doesn't have to be transactional. It can be just like, hey, experience this pleasure. And again, that doesn't come down to like, hey, let's just knock it out and like so we can have an orgasm and get on our way. I mean, unless that's like what's pleasurable in the moment. But it's more along the lines of like, hey, understanding where you derive pleasure and understanding where your partner derives pleasure. And by the way, when you go through this practice, like when you start to feel more embodied, when you go through these exercises with your spouse and you learn where they find pleasure, like where they can own it, and you learn where you own it, you see the overlaps, and you actually kind of find, well, you legitimately find more pleasure in giving your partner pleasure. It's not an obligation, you know. It's not like oh, it's Tuesday at 8 o'clock, better knock it out because that's what we got to do on Tuesday at 8 o'clock, right? It is like legitimately this fluid, like you get pleasure, and it's from giving pleasure, right?
yeah,
Is that true?
like it's very fluid. It's if we can knock down that idea of transaction, of just actually being with our partner
Yeah.
is really important, that we don't just see them as something that will, this person will give me an orgasm and it'll feel better, and
Right.
that's and also, I'm guilty of that, of I wanted to feel something, I want to feel like be in my body, so let's just go straight to sex, and 15 minutes later and we're done, or
15 minutes. Are we having a marathon or what?
you're funny. No, but it's just the aspect of just taking your time
Yeah.
and allowing yourself to enjoy it too, and being there with your partner too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Is there an element to this, like, too, that it's like not being so outcome oriented?
yes.
Like that where pleasure comes from, not pinning pleasure on an outcome.
Yes.
And I guess where I'm getting at there is like really being able to find pleasure in what you're experiencing in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think we are, again, not only transactional creatures, but achievement oriented.
Yeah.
Like a lot of entrepreneurs, like we need to have the goal point,
We
the
need to win at
achievement.
orgasms.
That is so true. That is so true. And I'm guilty of that. I thought it that way
Oh,
for
yeah.
a long time.
Sure.
I think that's where we end up disconnected too, because we're just looking at that point at the end of the road, and that's the important part. Everything else is just a build up to get there,
Right.
and that's so not true.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just derive in and allow ourselves to feel that pleasure, it's gonna we're going to win no matter what.
Yeah.
Is if you want to have that achievement oriented mindset too. So, and just having that, I like all of this stuff is so counterintuitive to what we do in life,
Yeah.
and it's a difficult place, and it's like this understanding is difficult for a lot of us who are achievement oriented, who are always in our head. What do you mean I need to be in my body? What do you mean that, I need to meditate 10 minutes a day? That's not, if you're feeling in that space and that stresses you out, you need, like, what do they say? You need to fit,
You need it more than a like.
you need
Yeah.
you need to meditate 15 minutes a day, and somebody's like, I don't have 15 minutes, then you need to do an hour,
Right.
or something
true.
along that line.
Yeah.
Because everything comes up when I meditate. Everything comes up when I start to touch my partner. Things just like come up. Well, they're going to come up because you just didn't allow yourself to be in this position. It feels foreign
Yeah.
in our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, and it takes some time, obviously, and you got to give yourself grace in this process.
Yeah.
You don't immediately know where you find pleasure, especially when you've been suppressing the idea of experiencing pleasure for yourself, or you've been feeling guilt or shame around this. And a lot of times, like, a great sex coach or therapist or something like that can help to unlock where that is, so that you can start to experience that. But give yourself some grace, and learn. And I think we've kind of outlined a few just maybe exercises that you can do to start to get into this, that are really simple, that you can do starting now, just to get more embodied and start to understand more pleasure. I think number one, breath work.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Start doing some breath work exercises. Feel that breath go into your body to get out of your head and into your body. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, like, I'm always in my head,
Yes,
because and especially when I'm in the day-to-day of business, like, there's this idea of what is it? Not delayed desire, but spontaneous versus what desire?
my goodness.
Spontaneous versus delayed desire, I think it is. or
No,
something
it's
like
not delayed.
that? Okay, it's something.
We'll figure that out
Yeah,
later.
it's like on the
later.
fly trying to figure that out. But yeah, no, like that. But mine is very much a
Responsive.
responsive. Thank you, desire.
We thought of it together.
Where it's like, if I'm in work mode and immediately, like, there's like, I can't switch from work mode to sexy mode.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just like that. There has to be like a buffer, and I'll tell you where that buffer is like in the breath work. Like, if I could just take a few minutes after work, and this goes for anything. It doesn't have to go for sex, but it's just like anything, like any shift. It's like, okay, coming out of work mode, I'm going to take 10 deep breaths. I'm going to breathe in to my belly, and then I'm going to breathe deep and just feel my body. And then it gets me into my body, and I'm more playful. And then after that, I think it's the taking touch. Like, it's like the actual, just like, lay down. Just, I love the idea that you've presented before of the one touch session. Can you describe a one touch session?
Oh, one touch session.
Yeah.
A lot of people describe it in different ways, but it is actually one person gets pleasure. Like, there's a session that you set up. I would do about 30 minutes maybe of it, like, just having that one touch is with one person gets pleasure.
One person gets the touch, right?
The touch.
Right.
One is the receiver, one is the giver. And you do that for that person only.
Yeah.
And that's the session. It's great for like 30 minutes. I mean, you can go a little bit longer, but try that. And you can see where your challenges are, because I personally have a hard time receiving
Sure.
too.
But I think what
The
the
beginning.
benefit there is though that like if one person is like designated receiver that time, and you can like always like, hey, next week it's you, this week it's me, whatever. But like the fact that you're taking the pressure off of like having to be transactional in that moment.
Yeah.
The idea that one person gets to receive takes a lot of that pressure off. And even if you don't like to receive, so to speak, it gives you the chance to at least try to be embodied and try to learn like, hey, what feels good? And now you know. So I mean, it's like even if it's just a massage of like going all the way up your body and all that kind of stuff, you learn where you like, and you can start to become more self-aware of what you like,
Yeah.
and what feels good, what feels pleasurable.
Yeah.
And the same thing as the giver is like you can learn what's pleasurable to give. I mean, you know, and you learn more about your partner that way. And I think that that exercise in itself helps you become more embodied, more present, and then like understand your pleasure, understand your partner, and I think just those two exercises of getting into breath alone, getting into one touch might help.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to that question we were talking about. Like, people are asking, how do I give more pleasure to my wife?
Yeah.
Start with those sessions. Like, you receive, they receive, giving them that time, and you will find out a lot more of yourself and your partner in those moments.
Yeah.
Too, of giving yourself permission just to do that maybe once a month.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's a great point too. Is like just the idea that you're giving permission to your spouse to give you pleasure. There's a lot of power in that.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of like, really good feeling in that. It's not an obligation in that sense. It feels good. And I think then the third thing that you should take away, like continue to practice, is beyond all of that, beyond the one touch sessions, beyond the breath work and all of that, have a rhythm of communication where you talk to each other and you share, hey, what worked? What did you like?
Yeah.
Here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't necessarily like.
Yeah.
Get really comfortable about sharing openly and honestly about what feels good and what doesn't, and try to incorporate like not taking those things personally in that, because this isn't about like feeling shame over, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I didn't make my spouse feel good. It's about learning what feels good and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And then adapting that over time.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's very important that communication is one of the most difficult things for partners to do.
Yeah.
Especially like, he doesn't understand me. They don't understand me. We're not getting along. That sort of thing is making sure you, again, practice too. Communication is very important.
Yeah.
So it helps bridge that gap of not understanding each other.
Right. Right. And now I want you all to imagine that you have this level of alignment in the bedroom where you are able to embrace your own pleasure individually. You know what you find pleasurable. You know what your spouse finds pleasurable. You are able to bring that and own it and have the confidence in that, and build that relation and build that into your relationship. Imagine as you practice that, how much happier you're going to be because you're experiencing pleasure without shame. Imagine how much stronger your relationship can be because of that. And then imagine how you can bring that into the business that you're building together and strengthen that.
The harmony that you have in your relationship, and you bring it into your business, and you're less stressed and you're less anxious.
Right.
Wow. Like, why don't we do that all the time?
Yes, absolutely. So hopefully y'all are beginning to understand or feel this idea that great sex can influence a great relationship and also help you to build a great business. That those three legs of the stool are very important, and that we shouldn't neglect. We should not neglect the idea of experiencing pleasure for ourselves.
Yes.
Just because we think that it's shameful or society thinks that we shouldn't, or it's like some kind of reward structure. No, you're entitled to pleasure.
Yes,
And
definitely.
God give us these bodies, right?
Exactly. I think, and if you're feeling challenged with that, reach out to me, and we can have a talk around it. Like, and maybe, if needing help is really important to you, just that, then just reach out and, we can go from there.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And I understand
You
you'd
can't do it
offer,
alone.
yeah, you'd offer free, essentially free, like in session to help kind of work through some of that stuff, 30 minutes, something like that.
Yes,
That's,
yes.
yeah, kind of like no obligation.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Like reach out, do a discovery call, see if this is the right work for you at this point in time, and we can move forward from there too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Help
And
you get more embodied, help you enjoy your life and your intimacy and your relationship, and build that business together.
that's right. Yeah. We are here to help. And I mean, we've been able to live this for, many years now. And we built this 10 out of 10 marriage. And we've only strengthened our confidence in our business, and we want to share that with others. And so we're grateful that you're sharing your time with us on Startup Spouses, and really glad you joined us this week. Hope to see you next week. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. Please subscribe and like it. Do all those things. That helps us to get the word out about this, and helps us to help other entrepreneurial couples to strengthen their marriage, their business, and their sex life. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.